time to say goodbye to our True Blue Stalker here. Wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. It's super good condition. 2,500 original miles. I had a homie, and they wanted to pick this up as soon as I got it. So I held it for them until I got all the paperwork and title figured out for it. Got the fresh title, and now they're coming to pick it up. So, goodbye, Bone Stock Zuma. Alright, as you can see, the Stock Zuma is gone so long, and we're moving back to the jog build. So today, we are going to be finalizing the assembly of the engine here. So first things first, what we're going to do is we're going to throw the piston on, and we're going to get the cylinders set for the right squish. Make sure we have the right amount of base gaskets. From there, we'll take it back off, seal everything up, throw the intake on. We will get this motor air leak tested and finalized, so it'll be ready to fully assemble and put back in the bike. Gonna throw on some base gaskets, and we're gonna check the squish here. Coat the cylinder, just to be safe. All right. Now that we have smashed down the solder, peel it off, and it might be hard to see on camera. Kind of hard to see on the camera, but you can tell it's got flattened up here on the tip. This solder is only 0.9 thick, so it barely got touched, which means it's probably about a 0.7. Using our micrometer here, and we'll see what we're sitting at. Perfectly sitting at a 0.7. I think that's what we set it up for in the F12, so that would make sense. It's crazy, the cylinder is so unused. Like, I swear it's less than 100 miles on the cylinder. Look at the cross hatches still. I don't know if you can see that. Well, boys, in the middle of filming this project going on right here, a Honda Elite just popped up on Facebook, and less than a minute ago, and we got it. We'll be right back.
A few moments later.
Well, boys, we bought the Elite. This is all I'm going to show you of this scooter for now, because we're going to film another video on this scooter and getting it running, etc. But just scored this little Elite, pretty fair deal on it. Doesn't run or anything so crazy, but 600 bucks, and we got ourselves another Honda Elite. Let's get back to work on this thing. Now that we got our squish all set, it's ready to throw some Honda Bond, especially on the base gasket. I always love making sure I use a good amount of Honda Bond between the base gasket where the cases actually meet, just in case the surface is maybe just a tiny bit uneven. Got the cylinder all lubed up and slid onto the case and threw the head on. Alright, it's time to now put on our intake since we have everything sealed up in the engine. We went ahead and grabbed some V-Force Stage 6 reeds, the V-Force 3 reeds. So we got those bad boys to put in. These made a huge difference when I put them in on my pre-bug, so I'm stoked to add them on this build. Everything we need for that, and some intake bolts. Gaskets. Do they always come with no gaskets? I think I had this issue last time. Alright, we have a little issue here because the Stage 6 intake does not come with intake gaskets. I have one intake gasket here. Now, you can just use Honda Bond when you're using the Stage 6 one, because there's this ribbed area on the rubber where it almost creates a seal when it squishes on both sides. The problem is we're running the Stage 6 V-Force reeds, which is just a flat, rough plastic, and it's not too great of a seal just putting that straight to here. I would love to utilize some paper gasket. So I have some paper gasket I'm going to cut and make work. But we also need to Dremel out the intake itself, because if you look at the reed cage piece here and you set it over on this intake, you can see there's a lot of material that we have to cut off on the inside. So we're going to run a Sharpie in there, line up, and we're going to Dremel out all the material that we don't want in there. We also have a few other little random goodies to throw on the engine. So I have a starter block off plate here. We're going to throw on there. Fun of it, I went ahead and grabbed myself a black oil cap here. We're also going to go ahead and pop in our seals right now too, because I just remembered that we haven't done that yet. For this side, I always just use this spacer that's in the variator. Push it through this way so it doesn't pop your spring off. And then kind of line that up in there, get it nice and smooth. Slide it all the way to where it goes in. Alright, this marking is what we need to Dremel out. You can't really tell, but there's a black line of Sharpie basically around that. So we're going to Dremel that out, and we're going to clean it all up, and we'll be back. And I got rid of the ridge that did exist right here. So we got that, and then we also trimmed back here on the boot to make it flush into there. So now we got to make a gasket, and we'll be able to throw it all together. Alright, went and cut my own gasket here, and now we're able to seal everything up. So let's get to it, boys. And again, the mating surface was just not perfect on those V-Force reeds, especially without having any type of rubber squishy seal like the Stage 6 one originally does. So ran some Honda Bond on between those base gaskets. You can't go wrong with a little bit of Honda Bond. I put it on everything that's pretty much a sealed area just to be sure on these two strokes. Alright, it is time to do our leak down test on the new jog build, and we put our intake on. We've let it dry for a couple days now. We let it get some good time drying. It's time to put in our PSI gauge, and we'll get this thing set up to pressure check. Our crank seal's in there already. We have our spark plug in there, and everything, exhaust cover plate that we have. So now we just put some air in it. We're looking for it to hold 6 PSI. And this pump leaks, so you have to like... Oh, we found a little bit of a leak. Can't tell if it's coming out of the bolt area or if it's actually the Stage 6 manifold. You know we have a lot of leaks all the time on this channel with Stage 6 manifolds, so let's hope not. After tightening up that leak, we went down to 6.5 when it was leaking, and now we'll see. It doesn't look like it's leaking at all anymore. I tightened it down a little bit. It wasn't that loose, but just torqued her down a little bit more and she sealed up. Wow, boys, look what I just found. So it's been about 10 minutes and the gauge has barely went down past half. Maybe one line past the 6.5 mark, right? But look at this leak I just found. Looks like there's a little hole right there on the side of the cylinder. You see that little hole? Watch this. See that little hole starting to bubble? Dude, I wonder if that little issue right there is why I never got the F12 to be properly tuned with this cylinder. Because it could have had that air leak that whole time, and that's why it was like, it was just such a weird setup on that bike, on like leaning out, and then it was super rich, and I was like, there's no air leaks anywhere, and this barely reveals having an air leak. So like, does it really make that big of a difference? But we are going to get some JB Weld, and we're going to run some JB Weld over that and seal that up. That is crazy. A couple days later, after we let it dry again, we got the leak fixed, and just some simple JB Weld for aluminum, and we got that to seal up just fine. So we are all good now. I'm gonna work on throwing everything else on. I slowly realized that maybe I can't throw everything on because I just ordered gears for this bike and I didn't want to throw the CVT on and then have to take it all back apart to put the gears in. So I worked on cleaning up the ignition because it's always dirty over here when it runs a stock oil pump. Oil splatters everywhere and then dirt sticks to everything. So cleaned everything up, threw the ignition on, threw the cooling fan back on, air-cooled life, and went ahead and got it ready for everything else. Alright, we still have some goodies to throw on this engine for the CVT side. We have our Plini adjustable 3G clutch, and then we have a Stage 6 clutch belt along with a Malossi variant. We went ahead, we actually ordered another pipe blade. The C16 pipe I had against the jog, and it sticks out insanely far. That pipe stuck out far on the F12 alone, let alone the tiny little jog. So we went ahead and ordered a new pipe. Yeah, that's literally all we can do right now on this engine because, like I said, we are waiting for the gears, and I don't want to put any of the CVT on since we're going to be popping this cover off here very, very soon, and we're going to have to change the gears in there. So don't really want to touch any of that right now, so we will wait until we get that in. But that'll do it for this video because we have a lot to finish on another build that we're going to be posting next week in the video. I'm trying to get back on track of posting every single Sunday. I fell off and I was doing like every other Wednesday and Sunday and every 10 days, and I'm trying to get back on track on weekly uploads. So thank you guys again for all the support, and I'll see you guys in the next video.